James Comey, indictment imminent. Well, let's brief him on what's going on.
That's right. We knew that there had been a grand jury impaneled looking into some of these allegations against James Comey, but now it appears that the DOJ is prepared to ask for an indictment from this grand jury as soon as today. It appears they're looking at the allegations he lied to Congress back in 2020. There'd be a 5-year statute of limitations on that, which would run out on Tuesday. So if they are going to ask for an indictment, it has to be in the next couple days.
Comey having the situation where he has essentially even admitted to lying in many ways, saying, that he had leaked things to the press or leaked things to his friend to then leak to the press and then to go and say, hey, I didn't leak anything. A very semantics game played by James Comey. Of course, he obviously has had so many issues come up, including even as recently as Shellgate, just a few months ago.
That's right. Yeah, where he found those shells in the sand that said 8647. We do know that he has been an antagonist of President Trump for years. He used his power as the FBI director to get involved with an election, whether it be the way he handled the Hillary Clinton email scandal or what he did in the wake of that after President Trump was President-elect Donald Trump, in the way that he operated his FBI. It was not something that should happen in the United States of America. Now, what we will see is if the grand jury, when they are asked by the DOJ to indict him, if they will indeed indict him.
My dad, Jay Sekulow, is joining us. Dad, obviously this comes on the news this morning that was just breaking that James Comey is set to be indicted. That could happen at any time. Obviously, these are sources, but these are pretty reliable sources saying it's happening. Let's get your overall thoughts and also give people a background of why this is important to even the work that we're doing here.
Well, of course, we were involved in this as lawyers for President Trump back when all of this was going on. This stems from, and this is what's important for people to understand because a lot of people may not remember the details, stems from testimony given before the United States Congress where, and Ted Cruz has pointed this out very well, that James Comey, when asked about this leaking of information, did not give a forthright answer. At least that's going to be the allegation. In other words, he did not tell the truth. He lied. It involved a situation where an individual that was a law professor received notes from James Comey after a conversation with the President of the United States. That law professor then leaked it to the press. James Comey asked about the leak, said, I didn't leak anything to the press. And even more specific, Andrew McCabe, who I am no fan of, went before Congress and gave totally contradictory testimony. And I don't know if you all remember this. They were arguing with each other via then Twitter, now X, about who was telling the truth. I mean, there was these texts going back and forth. And this is a culmination of the unprofessional conduct, the illegal conduct, in my view, that James Comey engaged in as he was trying to basically, in a sense, blackmail the president. And that's a strong word to use, but I want to put it in a real context here. Remember, it was James Comey and Clapper and these others that went to the then president-elect in early 2017 before he was sworn in and went through that whole situation with the Steele dossier and the allegations. So James Comey also said 3 times in writing, well, to the president actually, that he was not under investigation when in fact they already had opened up Crossfire Hurricane, and he was under investigation. So there's just these, this is a guy that also in the Hillary Clinton campaign interfered with an election by getting out and saying she was first exonerated, then not exonerated and reopened again. And you just can't do that as the FBI director. He jumped over the attorney general, who is his boss, when he made these statements. So this is, in fact, a long overdue process. Now, overdue being by Tuesday, the statute of limitations on the line the Congress allegation, if in fact that becomes the allegation or one of them, was to expire on Tuesday. So the grand jury is impaneled on Thursday to meet. That's what's happening now. And a lot of people expect a returning indictment sometime later today, or maybe it will be unsealed early next week.
As far as the process of this goes, we know that a lot of people in the press are reporting it is about, as you mentioned, the lying before Congress that it could be things in addition to that. Those are the details we don't know at this moment. But once they take this and ask for an indictment before a grand jury, this is in the Eastern District of Virginia. What happens after that as far as process goes, so people can be looking forward to what could come out of this?
Well, once a grand jury, if in fact they what's called issue an indictment, that is then taken to the judge, and the indictment is issued. James Comey would be arrested and processed. He probably would turn himself in voluntarily, I suspect, and then the court proceedings start. So that's how it moves. It'll be handled by the United States Department of Justice. The Eastern District of Virginia appears where this indictment's coming out of, and they have an acting U.S. attorney who would be in charge of the case through the criminal division of their office. But it also may have Maine DOJ people involved as well. I'm sure it will, in the nature of the kind of case that it is.
In this kind of case, what's the timeline look like here? Because we know they have a couple of years left of a Trump presidency. And does that change? Could this indictment, this moment, kind of be reversed if we see the pendulum shift in just a couple of years?
Well, I mean, if the White House were to turn in 2028 to a Democratic president, he can order the Department of Justice to not move forward with that indictment. Now, if the case has been tried and a jury issues a verdict, whether it's guilt or innocence, not guilty or guilty, then you have a situation where once it's tried, it's done.
Realistically,
of course, a new president could, if there was a sentence involved, a new president could waive the sentence or reduce the sentence or even issue a pardon. But if it's not tried by then, yes, politically things can happen.
And
I see justice is part of the executive branch, and the president is in charge of it.
Well, I see a lot of people talking about that, saying, well, it took this long to just get to this point. Having a president, though, in place right now, could this be not fast-tracked, but something that is reasonable to get done within the next 24 months?
3 years is reasonable, and that's what's left.
Yeah.
So, yes, I think the case could be tried within that period of time. There'll be motions. But this is a high-profile case. I think it'll move in an expeditious manner. But I do think that we have to remember that there will be, James Comey will be entitled to counsel, and his lawyer will file motions to dismiss and motions to reduce the indictment. There'll be a whole series of legal work that goes in before trial. But you could see, I think it's possible that you could see a trial in the next 18 months. Now, let me say something else here, because I see, some people criticize this as so political. I can't believe that, they're doing this. This is what the left's saying. They didn't say that when they went after President Trump, both while he was in office and then indicted him afterwards. So, it's similar to what you all said yesterday, the double standard here when you were talking about the left wasn't saying much as conservatives were being, censored by Google. And and of course, Google came out and said we were pressured by the Biden administration. So it's the same kind of thing here. I mean, they forget where and what they have done to this sitting president while he was president and then after he was out of office. So, they've kind of opened this up in a sense.
When you look at the entire justice system, once the indictment is returned, if it is returned, then it goes into a normal process. And this is the Eastern District of Virginia. This is obviously you bring charges against the person where the alleged crime would have happened. And we are in a place where there's a lot of government employees. There's a lot of bureaucrats that live in this district. And because of the nature of that, obviously, we believe in the justice system. But do you think the jury pool could be more difficult for the government because of the nature of what many of the people in that community do? They are government employees and may have already opinions on something like this. Does that become a hurdle for the DOJ in this?
I would say it's the risk of anytime you go to trial. The Eastern District is called the rocket docket because it's known as one of the fastest and frankly one of the most efficient district courts in the country. And these cases tend to move fast. And you would think it'll be experienced prosecutors that will be bringing this action. And but the jury's the jury. And you're not going to know that until it goes to trial.
Right.
And of course, it's a great time to support the work of the ACLJ. And Dad, when these kind of things happen, you also know that our work, our FOIA work, our deep state work really comes into really fruition here. You see the light at the end of the tunnel on some of these processes, because I know a lot of people see what we've been doing for that for many, many years now. And here it is playing out in real time.
Yeah, it is real time, and we were involved in it from the very beginning. There's not many lawyers that know more about this than our team here at the ACLJ who, and private lawyers who worked on this. But let me also say, Logan, it is a great time to support the work of the ACLJ on so many different fronts, and I encourage people to go to aclj.org, and if you can donate monthly, become an ACLJ champion. But we appreciate the support. A lot of work going on, a lot of new and exciting things going on. This will be a big one. We'll keep an eye on this very closely and keep everybody informed as it moves forward.